Imagine your mind is a high-speed train. Most of us are not the engineers. We're just passengers being thrown against the walls every time life hits a curve. You receive a biting email, a sharp comment from a colleague, or a sudden change in plans. Your heart rate spikes, your jaw tightens, your fingers hover over the keyboard ready to fire back a response that you know you'll regret by dinner time. What if the most radical, powerful thing you could do in that exact moment was nothing? Not because you're weak, but because you were in control.
Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, famously noted that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and our power to choose our response. Developing this space is the central theme of the power of not reacting. When you are triggered, your natural impulse is to close that space, to react as quickly as possible. You want to win the argument. You want to prove the other person wrong. You want to vent your frustration. But reacting in the heat of the moment is almost always a mistake. Practicing the pause is your primary tool. When you feel the urge to lash out, force yourself to take 3 deep, intentional breaths. This physiological intervention signals to your nervous system that you are not in danger. It slows down the racing thoughts and allows the logical you to regain the driver's seat. Think of this space as a sanctuary. The longer you can keep that space open, the more control you have. It isn't about suppressing your emotions. It is about creating enough distance so that you are not consumed by them. By choosing not to react, you maintain your dignity and your clarity. You stop being a puppet to your environment and become the architect of your own experience. A common misconception is that not reacting means becoming an emotionless robot. Nothing could be further from the truth. There's a profound difference between emotional detachment and indifference. Indifference is a lack of care. It's a cold, nihilistic state where you simply don't value the outcome. Emotional detachment, on the other hand, is a position of strength. It is the ability to witness your emotions, feel them deeply, and let them pass through you without them taking hold of your behavior. When you are detached in a healthy way, you recognize that your emotions are like waves in the ocean. You are the shore. The waves may crash, they may be violent or calm, but they are not you. They are temporary events that occur within your field of awareness. By adopting this perspective, you stop identifying with your anger, your anxiety, or your frustration. Instead of saying, "I am angry," you learn to say, "I am experiencing anger." This linguistic shift is subtle but powerful. It creates the necessary distance to observe the emotion objectively. Once you are an observer, you can choose whether that emotion is helpful or whether it is time to let it go.
Why do we react so strongly to others? Often it is because we have given others permission to dictate our emotional state. If someone insults you and you become upset, you have essentially handed them the remote control to your inner world. You are reacting to their behavior rather than acting according to your own values. Reclaiming your sovereignty means realizing that your internal state is your responsibility alone. No one else can make you feel anything unless you allow them to. While this may sound harsh, it is actually the most liberating truth you can accept. When you stop reacting, you are reclaiming your sovereignty. You are stating that your peace of mind is not a variable that depends on the actions or opinions of others. You become a self-contained individual. Start by identifying the people or situations that consistently trigger you. Once identified, prepare for them. Visualize yourself remaining calm in those situations. When the trigger happens, remember that the other person's behavior is a reflection of their internal state, not a judgment on yours. By refusing to engage in their chaos, you force them to deal with their own reflection, and you remain the guardian of your own tranquility. The power of not reacting isn't just a mental exercise, it is a physical one. As we touched on in Part 1, emotions are bodily experiences. If your body is in a state of high alert, your mind will naturally search for threats to justify that state. To control your emotions, you must be able to regulate your nervous system.
When you feel the adrenaline hit, your body needs an outlet. If you don't provide a constructive one, you will inevitably explode. Techniques like box breathing, inhaling for 4 seconds, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and holding empty for 4 can rapidly shift your nervous system from sympathetic, fight or flight, to parasympathetic, rest and digest. Grounding techniques such as feeling your feet on the floor or focusing on 5 things you can see in the room pull you out of your internal emotional turmoil and back into the physical present. Furthermore, consistent exercise, adequate sleep, and proper nutrition are the foundations of emotional regulation. It is significantly harder to not react when you are sleep-deprived and fueled by sugar. Your capacity for emotional control is a finite resource throughout the day. Protect it by keeping your physical vessel in a stable, resilient state.
What do you do with all that energy once you have successfully stopped the reaction? You don't just bottle it up. Suppression is dangerous. It leads to resentment and eventual outbursts. Instead, you must learn the art of emotional transmutation. Think of an intense emotion, like anger, as raw fuel. In its raw state, it is destructive, but if you channel that heat, it can be incredibly productive. When you feel a surge of frustration, instead of venting it at a person, redirect that energy into something tangible. Go for a run, clean your space, or pour that intensity into a project you care about. By choosing not to react, you capture the surge of energy that usually fuels a fight. Instead of letting it spill out into your relationships or your work, you consciously decide where that energy goes. This is the secret of high performers. They don't have fewer emotions than the average person. They are simply better at transmuting their emotional intensity into creative or productive output. You are not killing the feeling. You are transforming it into something useful.
What happens when you consistently practice the principles in the power of not reacting? Over time, you begin to change your character. You become known as the person who remains steady in a crisis. This is not just a social benefit. It is a profound internal shift. When you stop reacting, you stop burning bridges. You stop saying things you regret. You stop creating unnecessary drama. Your life becomes simpler, quieter, and more focused. You will find that people start to trust you more because your responses are predictable, considered, and grounded in integrity rather than fleeting impulse. Furthermore, your self-esteem will skyrocket. There is no greater confidence booster than knowing you can be in the middle of a storm and remain untethered. You learn to trust yourself because you have proven that you can handle your own internal states. You stop fearing your emotions because you know you are the master of your response. This leads to a deep, unshakable sense of inner peace that no external circumstance can easily dismantle. Mastering the power of not reacting is not a finish line. It is a profound, lifelong invitation to evolve. There will be days of absolute clarity where you navigate chaos with the grace of a calm sea, and there will be days of turbulence where the weight of the world tests your resolve and your composure slips through your fingers. This is not failure. This is the process. Every moment you feel your pulse quicken, every instance where you feel the familiar urge to lash out or shrink away, and you instead choose the pause, you are physically rewiring your brain. You are carving new neural pathways, teaching your biology that it is no longer a slave to external noise. As you move forward, carry the visual lesson from screenshot52.jpg as your internal anchor. Let the cover of that book be a permanent reminder that your mind is the calm, unmoving observer, while the world is the restless ocean surrounding you. The waves will continue to rise, the winds will always howl, and the storms of life will inevitably crash against the shore of your existence. Let them break, let them dissipate, but never mistake the movement of the water for the stillness of the shore. You are the shore. You are the constant. To master the art of not reacting, view every trigger as a training ground and decouple your self-worth from external outcomes. By applying a 1-second pause, you reclaim control. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Right Mindset channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated.